All right, fans, welcome to Talking Hawks, where we're all about connecting Hawthorn fans from around the world. If you're listening to us on podcast, thanks for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a review. We love those 4, 5, let's say 5-star reviews. If you are on YouTube, thank you. Join us by subscribing and stay tuned to all. Hit the bell so you know all of our content when it's there for you. We want your engagement. We want to hear your thoughts, and follow us on all of our socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check out all of our good articles on talkinghawks.com. Today, I am joined by Timmy, who makes his Talking Hawks debut, and Chris, the OG. We are here to look at the predicted best team. Each of us have brought it to the table by the end of 2023. So there's the round one team that everyone's thinking about right now. We've put the crystal ball on the table, and this is a bit of an interesting exercise. We want the bragging rights. It's there for the Talking Hawks team. Who's going to nail it? So I'm just going to set the team, boys, and then we'll jump straight in. The scene is we're looking at who we think in terms of player development. There's competition for spots. There's injury history and player resilience. Who the coaches like, pre-season training form, what we've heard from, little birds and maybe a few chats with players, and who we think is going to be in that best team by the year end. Come round 24, 23 games will play out. Who is going to be the clear best team? You're going to hear our predictions here today. So, Timmy, how are you, bud?
They're going well, thanks, Matt. Very nice to be on for the first time. I've done a few of the podcasts, which have been great, and a few articles, but yeah, definitely excited for the first live stream.
Mate, the fans are loving your gravelly tones on the airwaves, and you've done really well with the pods and the players. The club's been very generous, so well done. And Chris, what's happening?
Oh, just backing up off a bit of night shift, mate. So I was up till 2 o'clock putting this side together last night.
For the people. That's what we're here for. Wherever you are around the world, this is, our best intel on the team. So enjoy this conversation. Let's get stuck into it. All right. Conundrums. There's going to be a few, but let's start on the back line. 2023 best team come round 24. Why don't you open proceedings, Chris, as soon as you're up late? Let's make it worth your while. Who have you got on that back line? Full back line.
I think it's probably the easiest line to pick. We've got Hardwick, pretty obvious. I think he's had a mediocre preseason, but I think he's a lock. Moving across to James Blank, who's just killing it in that position. I can't see him moving. He's just a rock. And Sam Frost rounding that out.
Ooh, all right. Timmy, how right a reply? What have you got?
I had the exact same line as Chris had. Now, in terms of Hardwick, I heard you say the word mediocre there. If you only play half a match in both of the scratch matches, it's very hard to actually excel. So I will just put that out there. And if you're coming off a season where you've had 18 goals conceded in your 22 games against the best small forwards in the competition, I think he'll excel. Blanket, well, he just looks, as you said, an absolute man mountain down back, which means Frosty doesn't have to take those big gorillas, which will be good. And then having Frosty back in the team, looking forward to seeing a bit of Frostball this season.
Love it. There you go. Well, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here, boys. I can't displace Hardwick at all. Daz and Smitty talked about he would be the first magnet on the board each week, and I can't disagree there. So check out their preview of round one on the podcast. But I think Frosty is going to, just the experience is going to hold him on that in that team. I've got DGB and stiff on Blank, and I think Frosty's got that capability. I think the far back is going to get that chemistry right, and DGB the flexibility to play tall and small. Whilst that's what we're hearing Frosty maybe doing a little bit more of this year as well, I think he's just his experience and his voice and whatnot. stiff for blank, but come the end of round 23, I think DGB is going to keep getting some games, and that's what we're going to see. So first disagreement there, but it's on the table. So, all right, half back line's interesting. Again, we're stacked. We're very stacked. So where does the talent go in terms of multi-positional, and how does that factor into your thoughts? Chris, half back line, who you got?
Back to me. All right. So I told you boys I'd did my round one team just for this exercise. So it is different to my round one team. But we'll start off with CJ. I think he could play a few different positions, or probably just up on the wing, but I've got him in a lock at halfback. I think he's speed and just his ball use that he can break lines. So I think that's his best position. Sicily, also just a lock, isn't he, down there? And Scrimshaw back into the team. He's not in my round one team. He is, but he's on the bench. So, Scrimmer at halfback, I think that's his best position. I think we might see a few cameos down forward from him this year, but halfback for me.
Very good. Timmy?
Yeah, I'd CJ on one half-back flank. I just think you can't take away that run that he shows. And if you go back and have a look at that Collingwood game in the practice match where he took an absolute ripper of a mark, 45 kick that led us to a shot on goal, I think he's a lock for that position. Sicily, skipper.
Can I ask? Because on CJ, an interesting one for us. Hearing a little bit of commentary and whatnot, it made me think with CJ and the ability to play him in different positions. How much thought did you put into CJ possibly in another spot in end of season? Is this a year of development? Do we experiment with him, or is he a halfback, solidly through the whole season?
Yeah, I had him as a halfback solidly throughout the whole season. I just think his ability to intercept mark and then to be able to take off, and we know that Sam Mitchell's game plan is all about taking off, using the ball from the back. And if you've got someone with lightning speed like that, you want him being able to break away and then being able to use the options like nuke him through the middle to then get that ball going. So I had him primarily as a halfback for the whole season, really.
Yeah,
Chris?
I agree. Yep, I totally agree. I didn't even really consider, like I said, potentially on a wing, but I think the wings already have 5 options. So.
All right. Well, I heard a little sneaky. Some of what's been tweaked and what we're looking at is that ability to move the ball very quickly from that D50. So it does make sense. I did experiment with the idea, but I just had to leave him there, CJ, for what he does bring and that burst. So right at the moment, and we all love CJ, I'm not sure that the poise is going to be established over the next 23 games to play him in other spots and trust that foot skills and the burst. But we need it, and happy for him to continue to do it. But it's probably, if he can, you just want that forward inside 50. If he's playing up a little bit more, that for me it's not quite his best. He's not going to bring as much to the table. So I've got him there as well. But sorry, Timmy, go on.
That's all right. Sicily is skipper, definitely a lock playing in the halfback line, and then Jarman Impey. So from speaking to a few of the players during the podcast and also going down having a look at training, Impey looks like he's back to his 2019 best. And if we go back and think about that Jarman Impey with that pace, blistering pace, ability to take the game on, being able to read the ball, intercept mark, I think you need someone down there with that composure, which will be able to help the likes of CJ and some of the other younger guys who might get a run through that halfback line.
Yeah, brilliant. So with Scrimshaw, we've heard he maybe played in other positions this year. You've said maybe up forward, Chris. There's maybe a little bit of mid. There's maybe a little bit of wing for mine if he's got the fitness. What do you guys think on Scrimshaw through the season, where we're going to see him played?
Like I said, I can see him playing a little bit of forward this season, and it's just going to be the best mix. I've got Impey starting off the halfback in my round one team, and I've found another position for him in the end of season team. So, but I think Scrimshaw's in our best 22, so he's going to be there somewhere. It's just where Sam finds the best position for him to play.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Scrimshaw having a run on the wing. later on throughout the season, even if it's only for 10 or 15 minute bursts throughout a game. But I just think with that laser-like left foot that he has, being able to pick out targets, plus his height, obviously he's got the defensive capabilities as well. So you've got a really well-rounded winger.
Yeah, 100%. Can't agree more. I would love to see him as he builds that tank. Just at the moment with the preseason and him not quite getting as much game time as we all expected and anticipated, I'm just hoping, it seems all fairly quiet, that maybe that's just a bit of the extra load, and the program, maybe they are building him up, and it's just, all right, if he's a slow start to the season, that's fine for me. But yeah, he's a lock for me. I do see him playing a little bit wing and maybe even forward. I can see that the leadership that he brings and the experience there could free Sis to also be further down the ground if there's moments where that makes sense, because I think he's a big impact player, and that voice and that leadership is going to lead by example. But I've got CJ, Sicily and Scrimshaw stiff for jars for me. So that was my consideration, because he's showing cracking form at this point. But end of season, that's my line. So let's mix it up.
To be honest, I think those three there, CJ, Sicily and Scrimshaw, if they don't get the most intercept marks in the comp as a collective from a team, I don't know what else to say. Those three are insane. So
it's one of the most exciting halfback lines in the AFL. Just pound for pound, happy to have that conversation with any supporter from any team. But all right, Timmy, let's mix it up. Who you got for the centre line?
Yeah, so on one wing, I've got Carl Amon. So if you've got a bloke who's coming across from Port Adelaide, incredible class, was the top Brownlow receiver from Port Adelaide. I think he got 15 last season. Composure, obviously, he's experienced. His ability to be able to hit targets out as well, which is what we want going into that forward line. So he's a lock on one wing. On the other wing, I've got young Joshy Ward. I think his composure looks absolutely fantastic. Watching him play when he came on, and it was in that Geelong game, that scratch match that we didn't actually turn up for. But watching Joshy Ward when he came on after missing the first quarter, he immediately made an impact. And I go back and I've watched, being a school teacher, had time over the school holidays just watching some of those KO clips. And Ward's ability to get the ball and to be able to use it really well. And I think having him on a wing, being able to hit up the likes of, hopefully Mitch Lewis later on in the season is something that, as a supporter, I'd love to see. And then in the middle, it's got to be Duke Nukem, Jai. I think Jai has to be the centreman. I know that, when you think about the Rovers in the centre, they change their combinations up at every ruck bounce, but I just think having him smack bang in the middle of the team, he's going to be that rock of the midfield this year.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right, I'm going to jump in. So I've got Carl Amon. Every report, he's contributing, setting standards. He's just slotted right in beautifully. So well done. Carl, I can't disagree. The nuke, Jai, is just, he's everywhere at the moment, isn't he? We're seeing him at the Hawks. There's our new poster boy. So Jai Newcomb, absolutely centre. And I'm going to go with Will Day here. So this will be potentially one I think we will disagree on. This has not been rehearsed at all. We intentionally kept this quiet between ourselves so that we could get the reveals. But I'm taking a punt on Daisy's body, and it's probably stiff, and I'll talk to who might be stiff at the end of my team in the predictions. But I think Will build that engine to be a bit more midfield, I just think he gives a lot of poise. He gives a lot of defense and attack smarts, and as a link up, just knowing where to go and even being able to direct traffic. I hear him talking. I think he's going to be able to guide others around him as well, just with the experience he's got, because he's a smart footballer. So I see him bringing a lot on the wing, and by end of year, we might see him move around in a few spots. I think he's a little bit of a Mr. Fix-It. But I'm taking the punt on his body. So might be a little bit wrong by the end of season on that one, but I think crossing every finger and toe that Daisy has every game that he plays every game. So Chris, who you got?
Yes, love it. Not going to go into too much detail. You guys have covered it. Carl Amon on one wing, Jai in the middle. But I have gone for the guys that you guys have forgotten, Harry Morrison. Just because he hasn't played, hasn't been in the limelight, I think people forgot the year he had last year. People are too quick to forget. I think he was going to recapture that form, and I think he will be the other winger.
So for mine, HMO is definitely in the consideration. He has to go up another gear to be in that best 23 for me. So love it. You've put him out there. Let's see. All right. You got thoughts on Harry, Tim?
Yeah, I obviously he was the first article I wrote about for Talking Hawks. So I've got a real soft spot for Harry Morrison, but I think he's one of those players that when we think to 2024, 2025, 2026, when we're competing or hopefully making the 8 and then competing for flags, he's one of those solid players that becomes just one of those solid players that you might be able to bring in. But I think looking at him, and I know he's missed part of the preseason, and obviously he was meant to play last night in the VFL match, but didn't. But yeah, he was one that I definitely considered for the wing, but I just think Joshy Ward's got a bit more upside.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, one of those reliable. He's got those attributes, hasn't he? I totally agree with you, but not hopefully competing. We will be competing for mine, Tim. Come on, you're as glass half full as me, or maybe a little bit more. So that's, I can see him definitely being a massive contributor, potentially in a few different spots in the years to come. All right, half forward. I had a few dilemmas when I got here because my centre half forward, I'm just, I spent too much time having to grapple with this part. But Chris, you're nodding with agreeing, both of you, actually. Chris,
yes,
what have you got here?
It was probably the most difficult position, not knowing, I guess, how this year's going to play out. But I stuck with Cozzy. With Mitch Lewis potentially coming back, I've given him the benefit of the doubt. Could have gone with potentially the resting ruckman or even another option, but across the line, I've given Jarman Impey the nod there. I've moved him off that halfback. I think he can potentially. He has to play. If the form he's in, he has to have a spot on the ground, and I just found it for him in the forward line. So Jarman Impey, Cozzy and Dylan Moore. I think Dylan Moore will play a little bit of midfield time as well, but I think he's up on that high half forward.
Yeah. There you go. So, Cozzy, how many games are you seeing him play? Because fans will probably understand your perspective with Jars, and but Cozzy, for him to be in this team at the end of the year, starting team, how many games is he playing for you to have him at centre half forward?
I'm going to say 15 games, mate. I think he might have a few injuries, but I've got him playing a solid year, mate.
All right.
Backing him
so
in.
He's growing good. Love it. We've got to get behind him. Timmy, how's your centre half forward line?
Yeah, look, I'm a big Cozzy fan. I couldn't put him in my my half forward line. I think I know he's going to start the season, and I've got a lot of faith in Jacob, but trying to fit in as many of the forwards as we do, especially some of those talented smaller forwards. So I had Connor McDonald on one half forward flank. I think if you think about his efforts and what he's been able to achieve, I think he's doing a phenomenal job. On the other half forward flank, Chad Wingard, and I know for some Hawthorn supporters, they'll sit there and think, will he make it through the season? But I think Peter Burge is getting the best out of him. In terms of his body, he's fit and firing, hasn't missed a beat, which is wonderful. And, if we can get 20 games out of Wingard, last year he played 10, kicked 17 goals. Imagine if we get 20, he could kick 34, possibly 40. He's got the smarts, he's got the skills. It's just about keeping the body on the park. And then playing as the centre half forward, I've got Fergus Green as that lead up. I just love the way that Ferg goes about it. I know he's not, the big monster forward that you think of, but his football smarts, his ability to lead off his opponent, to give options to that midfield. I'd love to see him there for the whole year.
Yeah, Ferg is a word. So I love that. It's the part of the dilemma here, isn't it? I was looking at Fergus, what he brings probably going to be vying for one of the best clubmen in the team this whole season. So I feel like everyone's going to love him if they don't already. And we know what he brought to Box Hill has been pretty special. So the experience, 5 games for the Dogs. Liked what I saw of him kicking 3 goals and against Collingwood and setting up Meek. And there's a really good argument to be had for Fergus being here. He's 190. I had to look up his height, 190 centimeters, and so similar. I think Gunners was 194, 193. There you go. So there's that similarity. He's probably a little bit lighter than Gunners, but. It's a hard one, fans. We want to know what your thoughts are on this because this is one of the toughest positions, I think, for us to fill with the current list. What does the best team look like here? So I've got C-Mac, Connor McDonald. Absolutely have to clarify that now. Connor McDonald is half forward. What he is bringing is special. You're right, Tim. Just the poise, the decision making is in tight spaces. At half forward, he's creative, and he's just got that team first. Whilst loving a goal, I think he's just got a brilliant balance there. So he's a lock for me, as is Dylan Moore. The run, it's the leadership, all of that. It's brilliant. And sadly, I'm not going to put Fergus in mine. I think he's going to be one of the stiff ones for this year. It's rough. We've pre-season, we're toying with Jekka. I was like, is he going to be in the mix here? But what we're seeing on the paddock, I'm like, okay, he's going to have to come from a fair way. Not back, but just the adjustment into the forward line being thrown both ends. And I think capability, mindset-wise, if he makes a good jump, he can get a few games and might be on this centre-half forward line. So, but I'm going to pick Cozzy, and I'm not flying with my confidence, I must admit. But I'm backing him in because he has shown the potential in the past. I think it's stringing it together. It just looks like it's confidence to me, game by game, week by week. I know what some of the coaches do in just breaking up the week for a young group and what does success look like to keep them focused and, once the game's behind them, just moving on quickly and, it's session by session. It's someone like Cozzy, where I think it might be a little bit of confidence and just just form. It's just session after session. That's exactly the way to build it up. So I'm hoping across the games that he's a strong unit. He's fast. So I hope he can bring what he has shown us glimpses of in the past. And wouldn't surprise me if he gets a few bags of 5. And what does that do to a fella's confidence? So Cozzy is 2 out of 2 against 1 here, Timmy. So welcome to the crystal balldom of Talking Hawks. So this is the bragging right, fans. What are we getting right? What have we lost our minds on here, if any? So, all right, full forward line. Let's go, Timmy.
Yeah, Dylan Moore. I've got him in there, and obviously he'll move up the ground at different parts of the game as well. Mitch Lewis. Seen images of him back running, speaking to a few of the players. Obviously, it's just about how the knee reacts to the load that they're putting through it. So I think he'll be back, and I think once he's back, they'll keep him firing, and he'll be in there in our best 23 by the end of the season. And then Luke Bruce. I know he's coming to the twilight of his career, but the way that Punky's able to use those football smarts, the way he's able to read the flight of the ball, he's kicking for goal. Will be highly beneficial, and also that experience that he adds to the list. So I can't see him moving out of that full forward line by the end of the season.
Chris?
You ready for me, mate? Well, here's the controversy. Luke Bruce, absolute legend, but slowing down later in the career, and with these young kids pushing through, I didn't find the spot for him by the end of the year. And I think they'll probably give him a farewell game anyway. But for the sake of the conversation, I've got Connor McDonald, Mitch Lewis, and I've kept Fergus Green in the side. I just think his ability to play different roles in that forward line as a leading forward, his ability to look for other players first as well. He's very unselfish, and I think he's going to be a very good player for us. So I've kept him in. And sorry, Brewsty, and sorry, Wingard. Chad did not make my forward line either. So, yeah, big call. I just think Chad's body hasn't held up, and that was my reason for leaving him out, based on the fact that his history has not held him up.
The controversy. There it is. Well, it's not necessarily this team being where they will get a game round 23. It's who's the best by the end of season. So I still think Brucey will be one of the best for mine, to disagree with you politely. But so I do have Brucey in the pocket. Yes, Lewis, 100%. And I've got a spot for Chad. So probably stiff on Sam Butler. I think we're going to see games from him this season. I wouldn't surprise me if you see Brocky and Seamus Mitchell get a few games as well. But it's an interesting. There's depth, but the experience. Come 23 games, how many of them are going to get a run of games at the top level? And we've seen Ward and Connor McDonald get backed in, and DGB, others get numbers of games. So that's all potentially a factor here. But as far as best by the end of 2023, Brucey, Lewis, and Wingard. So as I said, Fergus is my stiff one. But I like your thinking, because watching enough of Box Hill last season, Fergus's ability to be adaptable, 100% it's there. He's strong overhead. He leads well. He doubles back super well. And that was a bit of the game plan, seeing the speed. So, if Fergus is doing all of that, which I don't doubt that he will when he's playing, he's going to, I think, take the bull by the horns with this opportunity at AFL. If he's kicking bags, it's going to be hard to, if he's kicking 2 or 3 a week, it's going to be hard to dislodge him, to be honest. So, Fergus, bring the challenge. This is what we want from a developing side, these hard decisions. But let's go to the followers. So I'll kick it off. I've definitely got Josh Ward. He's going to keep getting games. We love what he's bringing. The ruck is an interesting one, but I've got Lloyd Meek just sneaking in. I think we'll see Ned's a little bit more laconic. Is he? Personality, my impressions there. I've got to have a few chats with you, Ned. I think it's going to improve him a lot, because Meek's going to challenge even just what we saw on the wing against Collingwood. Having a crack, backing himself in. He got run down by Morshaw against Collingwood. I don't mind it. But I think Meek is going to give us that little bit more to be that starting ruck. And Cooper Stevens probably, I think he's going to get a good look in at opportunities. I think Ned Long's going to get games this year, but I'm going to back in Warps. Talking to him late last year, the shoulder was his first major injury, and he found it tough. But he was working really, really hard, and we're hearing that he's one of the hardest workers in the club. As far as talking between the players and standard setting, Warps is right up there. So I think he's got a runway now in front of him with a few experienced mids now, no longer in the brown and gold. I've got James Warple starting, so I'm backing him in. Timmy.
Yeah, I've gone with you in terms of Lloyd Meek as the ruckman. I just think the way that he follows up around the ground just gives you almost like a fourth midfielder, which is going to be beneficial, especially because we do have such a young midfield. Yeah, I've got Cooper Stevens. I've got him in starting as one of the followers. I mean, if the club sits there and Sam Mitchell wanted to get him at the end of this year, 2023, and they were able to get him prime out of Geelong a year earlier, that tells you that, if Sam's picking you as a player, then you've certainly got a ton of potential. So that'll be something that we can look forward to seeing this year. And the other one I've got there, and this is from watching not only the sort of match simulations that Hawthorn have had, but also the last 2 practice matches, is Will Day. His ability to go forward, to go back, being that follower out the back to get the quick handball, and then being able to take off and release. And I think we're going to see the best of Daisy this year. He's put on about 7 kilos. I mean, he still looks very small, but he's put on 7 on that frame, and I just think a bit of confidence through him. If he can get through the first 5, 6, 7 rounds injury-free, we'll see something amazing from Will by the end of the year.
7 kegs is very impressive for that sort of a physique. And wow, Wow, Daisy. So are you seeing more? Is that around the ground, or is it the centre bounce? What's swaying you there with Daisy as a starting mid?
Yeah, it was both. So centre bounces and also stoppages around the ground. Just his ability to use that football smarts to find the loose player, to find that target, just to be able to break away from packs, and then also watching his ability to run from contest to contest to contest. That endurance that he has. So I think that's something that I've really enjoyed watching, and hopefully we'll continue to see in our best 23 by the end of 23.
Love it. Love it. He's put it out there. Cooper Stevens, so 22 years of age, 188 centimeters, 83 kegs. So I hope, like you're saying, we've sorted him out. I think he's going to get backed in. I think he will establish himself in the regular, 22. I'm fascinated to see what he has got in him under that tutelage of Selwood in years gone by. So, Chris, what are you bringing?
Yep, I do love that Will Day choice. But okay, so I've gone against you guys. I've kept Ned Reeves in the ruck. He is a better tap ruckman, so I think he's the first choice in the centre bounce. So starts on the ground as a ruckman as much as Lloyd Meek is pushing and challenging. Joining Jai in the middle, I've got Wardy as well. I think he's just his footy smarts, his ability in the middle is phenomenal. So I've got him getting there by the end of the year, and Will Day as well. I've gone with that combination of extraction and handball ability. I think they're just going to kill it, those three. I think it's going to be a good mix. So Warple is going to start, I think, this season, but I just couldn't fit him in there by the end of the season.
Here we go. That's why we're doing this one. It's the Crystal Ball Show. The bragging rights are up for grab, fans. Let us know what you think. And check it out on talkinghawks.com. There'll be an article you might be reading it around this podcast that you're watching, or this YouTube that you're watching right now. Right. Give us your comments. Interchange. This is interesting when we're building the depth. This is almost just as hard, because for me, I'm thinking, who's going to be developed in different positions? Because we've got those named on the field. I think those that can play two positions, things like against certain teams, we're going to need that elite skill. Ruckman's a classic. It might change based on the opposing ruckman who you got starting, and you want the height of Reeves and tapping abilities, but sometimes you just want that absolute, beast competitor and follow-up of a Meek. So, Tim, kick us off. Who's on your interchange? We've got, and then we'll save the emergency for last.
So I've got, Cam McKenzie. He's on the interchange bench. So from watching him in that last practice match against Collingwood, the class that the kid has, the composure, the time he has with the ball, ability to lower the eyes, he's one that will definitely get game time this year. So I think Frenchie will be on the interchange bench. The human padlock, Finn McGuinness, I think he definitely has to be there. His ability to go and lock down on the best midfielder, the best player in terms of an opposition team. I think that's something that Sam absolutely loves. And from talking to Finn, he absolutely loves playing that role as well. So I think Finn will be in there. Jack Scrimshaw, for that ability to be able to play halfback, wing, possibly in the forward line if we need him to. So he's definitely there. And then I've also decided to place Ned Reeves. Now, this was a tough one because I was tossing up between Ned Reeves and Maxi Lynch. And I know that Max Lynch obviously doesn't have the same ruck craft as Ned Reeves does, but Lynch's follow-up work around the ground, endurance, his marking, obviously has a fair few strings to his bow. So it was a toss-up between those two for that second ruck position, because I know that Sam Mitchell loves having the two rucks, as we saw last year when I think we played 2 rucks in 6 games and won 5 of them. So, it's a good combination, a good thing to have. And then sub, are we naming a sub?
Hold on. Oh. We'll get to that one. It fascinates me that we're talking by the end of this season, possibly, how can entertaining Scrimshaw coming off the bench. I can't, maybe, but I don't think so. And maybe it's how I see him, but it's like, wow, that's a big call, Timmy. Chris?
Yeah, no, it is a big call, but we're talking about a fully fit list here of trying to squeeze everyone in, and it's a hard job. So I've agreed with Timmy there with the 2 ruck combo. I've got Lloyd Meek starting on my bench, and I think they'll rotate down forward too. I think Reeves will actually spend a bit of time forward as well. It's pretty hard to stop the guy marking the ball, and he's actually not a bad kick. So, yeah, so I've gone with the 2 ruck combo, which is hard because that squeezes other players out of the team. But what have we got here? Sorry. I've got Cooper Stevens as well. I really liked having him in my starting midfield, but I could not put Daisy on the bench. Daisy had to start on the ground. So I found a spot for Cooper Stevens to be there by the end of the year. I've gone with Cam McKenzie as well. Kid looks like an absolute gun. So, again, just the other players had him beat to start on the ground, but I had to have him in there. And I've gone with Lockie Bramble. I just love what he brings as far as covering the ground, and his ball use is quite elite, I think. So he makes the right decisions and doesn't make too many mistakes. So it's hard to give him a starting spot on the ground. I don't know where that is because he could play that backline role or push up onto the wing. But I found a spot for him on my bench.
Yeah. There's tough calls. You're right. It's my head explosion happened when I'm trying to work out between Connor Nash, Finn McGuinness, and I think Weddle's going to go all right. And between 187 and 197 in height, they are. Look, McGuinness is 80 kilos and 187, but you've got Nash at 197 and 92. You've got Weddle at 192 and 92 kilos. And the aerobic ability, I just think, yeah, Weddle's going to be really pushing and he's going to get games. So for mine, I had to make the tough call. I think Finn is definitely going to get games. He's going to have assignments. He's going to be attacking, but he's going to be unfortunate in my side to not make this best 23.
Matt, are you making excuses before you've even picked players?
I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. So Finn misses out is what I'm saying. Weddle, I think he's going to be just in an absolute arm wrestle for a spot, and but I'm not going to quite give him the nod. I'm going to give it to Nashi, just by a whisker, and maybe I can't even articulate why fully in this, but there's Chris has already given me a ribbon, so I won't rabbit on. I've got McKenzie as well. Cam is impressive. Do like Frenchie, what he brings, and I've got Ned Reeves. I agree. The 2 ruckmen. We might not see all games, but I think that is part of our best. And I'm going to kick us off with the sub. I've got Stevens, Cooper Stevens in, and I may be entirely wrong here. He might just really carve out this spot for himself, and I think he's going to take the bull by the horns as well. Ned Long was my other consideration. Just liking, you've got the soft spot, I think, for Long and Weddle, but yeah, Cooper Stevens for mine. So, Chris, who's your emergency?
My emergency is Finn McGuinness. Bit stiff to miss out, as is Nash. And I think Nash is a really good choice as a sub, but I think Finn just got the nod just purely because he should be in the side, and I didn't find a spot for him.
And Timmy?
Yeah, I had Connor Nash. Yeah, Connor Nash is the sub. I think the club loves him. Sam Mitchell absolutely loves him. His ability to play multiple positions, whether it's inside mid, whether it's on a wing, whether it's as a forward, can even go into the ruck as well. So I think there's a lot of roles that Nash can play.
Absolutely. All right, fans, there it is. It's on the table. The crystal ball's there. The Talking Hawks bragging rights up for grabs. Tell us what you think of our team's best 23, 2. by the end of the season, there's going to be a lot of changes. We're going to see a lot of exciting things. Let us know in the comments. You can do that on the podcast, depending what you're listening to. YouTube, Timmy, if you need to mute, you can. The Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, give us your thoughts. We'll get some graphics up, and this will be part of an article where we hope you enjoy reading and listening, and we're keen to hear your team. Put it out there, and let's have some good conversations. A bit of a fun one for us, but with the season ahead of us, this is it. Let's enjoy, fans. And Timmy, Chris, thanks for that. We will
Pleasure, guys.
catch you all soon.
Go Hawks.